With this much greenery, it might as well be a background. I'm coloring in the last part of this page today. Come see how this turned out. So much grass, but would this count as a background? I'm coming in with sepia and working in all of the shadows I think I will need. I will likely miss some, but at least with no other color in the way, it might be easier to tell. I want to add in a shadow behind each cluster of grass blades. Any place I see a group of M lines, I add in a shadow behind it. Any place where I see a V, I add a shadow at the bottom of the V. This will help the cluster stand out from the background a little more, and it will remind me later to make sure I keep certain areas lighter. Hi everyone, I'm Catherine, the artist behind Bigelow Fine Arts. Welcome back to my channel. Today I am finishing up this European hamster from Fragile World by Kirby Rosanes. I have the color list available in the community tab as well as for free on Ko-fi or Patreon. This is not in real time. I have had to speed it up so that the video wouldn't be so long. Now let's get back to work on this grass. With the shadows now blocked in, I want to add in some green, and I start with leaf green, which is my mid-tone green. I will be using a light layer with this color. I'm just blocking in where this is going, and that will be on all of the grass squiggles that I placed a shadow behind, as well as on any long blades of grass. I leave the rounded fronds alone, as well as the one stalk of grass seed. Otherwise, anything that looks like grass, as well as all of the flower stems, will get this as a base layer. There will still be a lot of white space, so don't worry, you are not doing anything wrong. I add in a touch of sepia to the top section of the flower stems since I wasn't thinking about them earlier. For the more upright ones, I place it on the left. For the ones that are leaning over, I place it on the right or bottom side. Now, back to the green, and I come in with my darkest green for this palette, and that is pine green. I want to add in the pine green to all of the areas where I added sepia, but I also want to lightly blend this color up to where I placed the leaf green. So in the end, there will be hardly any white space remaining, and this will take a while. I do want to make sure I am leaving a relatively smooth gradient as I add this color. If this is your first time here, welcome! This is the final video in this series, but I have the rest of the videos linked above. All the videos work alone, so grab your pencils and join in right here. If you liked what you saw, hit that subscribe button to stay informed of when the next color along starts. For the rounded fronds, I go through with May green and fill them in. This is the lightest color in my olive palette. Once I have them filled in, I add in a bit of shading with chrome oxide green, which is the darkest color for this olive palette. I add the shading down the center and at the bottom. Each frond gets slightly different areas of shading depending on which way it is leaning and what might be hanging over it. For my final base layer color for the rest of the grass, I come in with light green. This is the lightest color for this palette. I will be adding in another layer to the places where I added in the leaf green, as well as slightly blending it down into the pine green. But I will not be adding in any light green to cover pine green areas. Those areas just won't benefit from it. This should blend in nicely with the light layer of leaf green to make a nice light green. Now at this point, I am wrapping up with the light green. The greenery could be left at this point. It is a little washed out and the white of the paper is still showing through, but it would not detract from the main part of this picture. But I am going to keep going, coming in with leaf green and blending into all of the areas where I placed the pine green and better blending into the light green. I also did miss a few spaces on some grass bits, so I will make sure to fill them in. I come in with pine green again. I want to blend in the sepia better since I can see it in some of the shadowed areas, and I want to make sure there are more layers at the base of the shadows where it would be darkest. This will increase the contrast. It increases the difference between the lightest areas of light green and the darkest areas of pine green, and this will make a much bigger difference to the grass standing out versus fading back into the mass of green. The last bit is the single stalk of grass seeds, so I fill that in with burnt umber, which I felt was a little on the dark side. I blended in Naples yellow on top to give it a touch of that amber look. Then, with sepia, I added shading between each seed head to help them stand out. Basically, I added the shadows at the base of each seed head so the one below it would stand out. And while I had the sepia in hand, I touched up some of the areas of grass that I noticed could use a little more contrast work. This mostly amounted to touching up the shading on the base of the flower heads, but I also added in a little around the hamster to better blend the two into each other. I took the final picture with a better camera and it more accurately shows the colors, so there will be a bit of a color shift for that last image. I wish I could adjust the camera more to accurately show just how this looks. Hopefully the final image helps. I want to thank you all so much for coming along and joining in with me. Let me know below or on social media how your hamster went. I really want to know if you colored along and finished this furry little critter. If you found this useful, please like and share so others can also find this video. If you want to follow my last color along from Fragile World, I have the playlist linked right here for you to check out. And until next time, happy coloring!